So this information video is a resource for professionals looking to improve the experience of registering a stillbirth for bereaved parents. It is based on findings from the Death Before Birth project, an ESRC-funded collaboration between the Universities of Birmingham and Bristol, which examined experiences of reproductive loss in the UK.
Stillbirth registration had a profound importance for many of the parents, and for some, it's the official recognition of their baby's life. And one of the key issues is that the legal requirement to register the baby so soon after the bereavement meant that many of the parents were still in a very vulnerable emotional position. And this underscores the importance of professionals being able to help them through the situation by providing the right advice and support.
My name's Claire. My daughter Alice was stillborn in September 2016. While I was pregnant, I was quite well informed, so I knew how and when to register the baby when she arrived. But when she was stillborn, everything changed, and what I thought I knew, I no longer knew. So I was quite confused. There was some confusion in the hospital around registration. I remember the doctor talked to me about a death certificate, and that was the first time it occurred to me. And then I thought, well, if we're getting a death certificate, then we'll probably be getting a birth certificate as well. But then later, maybe that day or the day after, the midwife came and explained that actually it'd be a stillbirth certificate that we needed. And she gave us a piece of paper with a phone number and the address on, so that we could go and register Alice. About the day after we went home from the hospital, I rang the registrar's office and booked an appointment. That was easy enough. And then we went to the registrar's office a few days later. I remember in the waiting room when we arrived just seeing a room full of car seats, which hit me really hard. That was hard to see because it was the first time that we'd been out of the house since Alice died. And someone showed us to a side room, which was really nice because it made us feel like they recognised it was a difficult thing for us to do. Then the registrar came to get us from the waiting room, and I remember she was really gentle, very professional but gentle. She asked us all the usual questions about our backgrounds, and she talked us through the different certificates, the 2 different certificates, which was really helpful at the time. I remember she asked about Alice's name and she said it was a pretty name, so that was really nice. It made me feel like any other parent that she would speak to, whose baby she would register. And then we left the registry office with 2 certificates, an official one and then an unofficial blue one, which is one that we treasure now. It shows me and the world that Alice existed, which is really, really nice for us.
One of the most helpful things we can do as healthcare professionals to support parents with the stillbirth registration process is to prepare them for what will be involved. It is often an incredibly distressing time for the family, so we need to do whatever we can to make that process more manageable. This starts with the logistics, where they need to go and what they need to do. You should be able to tell families where the registry office is and how to get there. You should also be able to let them know the opening hours, and if the registrar sets aside particular times for stillbirth registrations, and let the families know when these typically take place. Sometimes families may need to register their stillbirth more quickly. Healthcare staff need to be aware that whether their local registry office has an out-of-hours service, and if so, how parents are able to access this. Healthcare professionals can also support parents with the process of booking appointments. As well as being familiar with how to book appointments locally, many families appreciate the offer of assistance with booking an appointment if you can.
A common difficulty that the Death Before Birth project found parents face is being given unclear or inaccurate information about who can register a stillbirth. This can create very difficult situations for families at the register office, so it is vitally important that families are given the right information when they are still in the hospital. Legally, only the mother or the father or second female parent, if they are married or in a civil partnership with the mother, can register a stillbirth on their own. A father or female partner not married or in a civil partnership with the mother cannot legally register the stillbirth on their own, and the register office will be unable to complete the stillbirth registration. Both parents can register the stillbirth together, and this is necessary if both parents want to be named on the stillbirth certificate and they are not married or in a civil partnership. In exceptional circumstances where the parents are unable to register the stillbirth, it is possible for other individuals to register the stillbirth, but this should be discussed with the local register office before making an appointment.
Healthcare professionals, it's important both to prepare parents for the content of the medical certificate of stillbirth and make sure it's completed correctly and in full to prevent delays in the registration process. The terminology used on a medical certificate is determined by law, but the language can be distressing for bereaved families. Words such as expelled are very clinical and do not often feel comfortable for many parents who experience a stillbirth. As healthcare professionals cannot choose or change the language on the official documentation, it's really important to discuss the wording with parents ahead of providing the certificate. This will provide a space for parents to express their feelings or concerns. You should also discuss how and why the cause of death is written as it will appear on the form, so that the terminology is clear and does not conflict with information that the parents have already been told about their baby's cause of death.
Healthcare professionals can also make a difference in the stillbirth registration process by paying particular attention to how the medical certificate of stillbirth is completed. Make sure that the handwriting is clear and consider using block capitals to make it easy to read. Make sure that all parts of the form are completed and avoid using acronyms. And be sure that the cause of death is stated clearly. The registrar will only be able to process the registration where they can understand and clearly see the cause of death. So making this as easy to see as possible will help to prevent delays to the process, which can be so upsetting for bereaved families.
Improving links and information sharing between the Register Office and local hospitals is a great way to make sure bereaved families receive the information and the support that they need through the process. The Death Before Birth project found that bereaved parents would sometimes receive conflicting information about who can register the stillbirth or what they needed to be able to do to complete the process. The following examples of good practice give an idea of how closer working and information sharing can make staff better able to support bereaved parents.
Within our own trust, we recognised that families were really struggling to get through to our local registry office to make an appointment to register their baby's stillbirth. So now we routinely offer the families the choice for us to make that appointment for them on their behalf. And this has really helped improve the registration process for the families because it's just taken the stress and the anxieties out of that for them. We also recognise the benefits of having a registrar on site within the hospital so that we can accompany the families at the time that they're registering their baby's stillbirth, and we're really working closely with our local registrars to implement this soon.
Liverpool Register Office have an outstation at their maternity hospital, the Liverpool Women's Hospital. Each day they reserve 1 hour for stillbirth registrations, and the registrars work very closely with the bereavement midwives, the honeysuckle team, who ensure that all of the paperwork is ready and legible. They accompany the parents to the appointment, and this means that the whole registration is done very swiftly, very conveniently at the hospital, and it saves the parents having to go back to the hospital to collect a medical certificate or having to visit the register office, and that's a great example of best practice in this area.
At the trust where I work, we have a very good working relationship with our local register office, and we have a visiting registrar who is available for stillbirth registrations at the hospital during the working week. The bereavement midwives are available to arrange an appointment for parents before they leave the hospital and are able to accompany them to the register office and support them during the registration process. The stillbirth certificate is shown to the registrar in advance of the appointment to ensure that the certificate has been completed correctly. And if the registrar has any concerns regarding the certificate, this can be discussed with the healthcare professional concerned and addressed in advance of the appointment.
I really hope this video has helped to illustrate what different steps healthcare professionals can take to improve the stillbirth registration process for bereaved families. After watching this video, steps you can take include familiarising yourself with the local stillbirth registration process in your area, being able to provide information on how and when to register a stillbirth that is clear and easy to follow can make a big difference to bereaved families and can help prevent misunderstandings that can be upsetting and potentially delay the process. Make sure that you understand the legal framework for stillbirth registration so that you can advise families sensitively and appropriately. Further details on this can be found on the RCMI module on stillbirth registration. Explaining and preparing bereaved families for the wording and content of the medical certificate of stillbirth helps to put this information into context and again to avoid potentially harmful misunderstandings. Whilst this information will be commonplace for staff working in this area, it's not for the vast majority of families, and any confusion regarding the contents of the certificate can be incredibly painful. At the same time, the staff member completing the certificate has a critical role in making sure it is clear and can be processed by the registrar, avoiding potential delays to the registration process. Finally, look to make contact with your local register office to see what ways you can work together to improve the registration process locally. The examples in this video are just a few of the ways that staff are approaching this across the country. And it's the most effective way to ensure that bereaved families receive clear information and support with the registration process when they need it.